Let's start with the Silverbacks and Angola. What happened, or what did not happen?
About what exactly?
Well, the defeat.
Yeah, the team has played 3 games over the weekend and lost all 3. You sneaked out like the team sneaked out like.
I mean, when you
they sneaked out like thieves. That's the question. Should I want to ask?
Where should I start from? For starters, we knew that we were supposed to be in Angola way before. Of course, these trips are very costly. Each time you see the Silverbacks or any other national team travel out of the country to compete in any given tournament, we spend about 100,000 US dollars. That's about 370 million shillings. So it's not cheap. We communicated, of course, to National Council of Sports that we have this trip and we needed money. At the same time, you may recall that we also had the AfroBasket qualifiers women in the same month. I mean, it was just maybe a week after, and we communicated to them and we were informed that there was no money for the teams. But of course, we kept on engaging them, promising, and hopefully we thought that maybe a miracle could happen. So eventually, I think on Thursday evening, when everything had failed, we made a decision to communicate to FUBA that we are unable to come because we have failed to get money from government. National teams are not personal properties. National teams should be taken care of government. I mean, as a federation, we take care of so many things. We have leagues that we run, we have capacity building programs, we have so many things that we do. So we believe that a national team should be taken care of by the government. So we wrote to FUBA. I think it was around 5 p.m. there. We wrote to FUBA and informed them that we were not traveling. I can tell you that the phone calls and you know that I received after that email from FUBA were crazy. They said it can't happen. It can't happen. It's not easy as you think that, you know, you just say that we are not traveling. They said it can't happen. We have games. This is a World Cup qualifier. It is not like you guys are playing, you know, Zone 5 qualifiers or what. This is a World Cup qualifier. They said, you know, we have broadcasters who bought these rights. The games are on TV. We have, you know, the schedules have to change and everything. So people said, if you don't show up, we are banning you for 2 years. You're going to pay a fine. So we said, but we don't have money. What do you want us to do? So they said, okay, you don't have money. We are willing to give you guys tickets. Can you travel if we give you tickets? We said, okay, we can travel. Can you assemble a team? We said, yes, we can assemble a team. Because about 3 days ago, there was a wind that NCS could get us some money to travel. They told us, assemble a team, be on standby, maybe something will come up. Which didn't happen. So we accepted. FUBA told us, if you guys can have maybe 10 players and about 3 officials, we can get you the ticket. So immediately we had to communicate to the players that we had put on standby, and then we had to request for their passports, sent to FUBA, and then FUBA organized tickets immediately for us. So by around 8 p.m. I think we had the tickets to travel at 2 a.m. in the morning via Ethiopian Airlines. So that is how we managed to, you know, get a few players here and there and make it to Angola. The team arrived in Angola a few hours before the game. They rested a bit and went and played their first game. So
it must be very difficult and very humbling for you, Nasser Sserunjogi, when you took up this mandate to be the president of basketball. You're supposed to be enjoying something good right now. The other week we were here jumping in this studio about the Gazelles and their qualification and how they performed even when they had lost to Egypt, because you got them back playing. They are not played in 4 years, and now you're here, you sound beaten. Like a hen under the rain.
I can tell you that this World Cup qualifier had 4 windows.
Yeah.
The first window was in Angola, still in Benguela.
Yeah.
We didn't get money from government.
Okay.
That's the one where players arrived and moved from the airport to the stadium without going to the hotel.
We didn't get money from government, but thank God we played 3 games 1-1. We beat actually Cape Verde that had just qualified
for the World Cup. Yeah.
So the next window was in Kigali. In Kigali we got money, but after the tournament we got money after.
But you had that's one where you got some money in a sack.
No, that is FUBA.
Yeah, that's FUBA. Okay.
This is World Cup.
And whenever I see, I think about the sack.
So we went to Kigali. We didn't have money. We were told to borrow, and eventually money came after that window. The next window was in Abidjan, which we did sometime last year.
Yeah.
Again, we didn't get money. Up to now, the money that we spent in Abidjan, we have, I think, received, they have paid back maybe 3/4 or less than that. Then here comes the Angola trip, and there is no money. I can tell you that even the Afrobasket qualifiers for women that we had, you see, people look at things and they say, oh, wow, you guys had a nice tournament, the team played very well, blah, blah, blah. But we didn't get money from government. The only thing that we got from government, you see, when you host such tournaments, FIBA, you have to pay tickets for the referees that come here. You buy for them tickets, the referees, the commissioner, the Zone 5 president, you buy tickets for them.
Yeah.
You have to pay them an allowance of $600 for the period they're here.
Yeah.
You have to take care of their accommodation and feeding. All that is on you as the host. So the only thing that NCS gave us was the tickets for, there were about 7 officials. Those ones were provided by NCS, because I went to them and told them, hey, okay, you say you don't have money, but can you at least get us tickets to bring these people here? Then the ticket for the coach, the ticket for Janon, and the ticket for Maria. So we got 10 tickets from NCS. Then after the tournament, they gave us 40 million shillings when the tournament had ended. Our budget for that tournament was close to about 300 million shillings. Wow. Then you get tickets and you get 40 million after the tournament. I mean, it's being a federation president in Uganda here for any discipline, for any sport, it is tough. Maybe for FIFA, because for them
they have some funding from FIFA to shoulder some of it.
But it is tough. For us, FIBA doesn't give you even a single coin. Wow. It only takes away from you. You don't even get a single coin from them. And this is the first time that actually, FIBA came up and said, okay, we are paying your tickets. But also, they are not saying that we have given you tickets for free. Somehow, somewhere, we will have to pay back this money. The team traveled to Angola, and I had to plead with the federation president of Angola. And I told him, you know what? We have gotten tickets from FIBA, but we don't have money for accommodation. Because FIBA said, okay, we are giving you tickets, but you guys have to find money for accommodation. The accommodation of the entire team, because it is $90 per day per person, then we had a team of about 12 people, it could have been about $4,000 US. But even that, we didn't have. So I had to plead with him and tell him, my team is coming, please, we don't have money, allow us to
sleep and eat
on credit. We shall pay when we get the money. Because we had to go and, honor the fixture and actually save the face. I mean, we didn't go to compete, because, we didn't train even for a single day, we didn't prepare, we didn't practice, so we only went to honor the fixture and save, being banned. Because if we had been banned, you see, when you're banned, it is Uganda that is banned, not the Silverbacks.
Not Sserunjogi.
That means you cannot compete in any international tournament for that period. Be it under 16, under 18, seniors, men and women, 3-on-3, 5-on-5, all international engagements organized by FIBA. That meant that even the Gazelles who are possibly getting a wild card, all that was, you know, going down to the drain, and I mean, it was going to be very tough for us.
It can be a very saddening, especially for the national team and how they usually represent the country and the flags they lift up for us. It's so sad, and those money wars, I mean, they keep happening in almost every federation, and it's really sad. We really actually applauded you, President, the other time when the Gazelles finished semi-final. No, actually they were runners-up. Yeah, they finished second to Egypt, and we were like, you really did a great job. We are so grateful as far as that's concerned. And speaking of the Gazelles, the wildcard bid, you have talked of it. How true is that? Has it been confirmed?
We haven't received any communication formally, but of course internally we talk. And we have been promised that we shall have the wild card. We have always been getting a wild card from our zone, because zone 5 is the most competitive zone in all zones. So FIBA usually prefers to give us a wild card from zone 5, because certain zones don't even play these qualifiers that we play. They just pick a team to go and represent a zone. But for zone 5, it's very competitive. If you may remember, in the last AfroBasket for men, zone 5 had, I think, about 5 teams out of 12, out of 16. There were 16 years, so we had about 5. So it's always competitive, and they always prefer to give a wild card, and we got that information. So we are waiting for the formal communication, but we are guaranteed that we shall have it.
Wow, that's wonderful. Andrew, I know you have lots of questions for Mr. Sserunjogi.
It's quite a spectacle seeing him there, very humble.
What do you mean he's never humble?
Nasser, really sad listening to you. Of course, I had, you know, heard in from our other colleagues, Manzi, you know. It's quite sad for me, but I'll ask you two, three questions. Two of them are to you, and the other one, of course, will be one to call out you, the federation people, and government people who tend to have the same narrative when you're thanking them, yet deep down you know you don't believe what you're saying. One, you recently appointed a CEO, FUBA. And a CEO is meant to put a few basics together at the secretariat, to establish one and put a few things together. After seeing all the unfortunate events the team went through, the anxiety, because on Thursday the players themselves who were on standby didn't know whether they would travel. Then we see these images of the national team, the Silverbacks, which Cheptegei Joshua uses in celebration, and which we hold up there as Ugandan Silverback from Bwindi. Literally, we are embarrassing it, and yet it's our flagship. And you have a uniform whereby numbers are plastered or written by a marker representing the country. So I know all that perhaps should be taken care of by government, but the basics, this is where the CEO comes in. Was it because we are not very sure, not having numbers? What are the dynamics? Why do we just have to implant numbers using markers? That's one. Also, maybe brief us, how far is the CEO? I mean, he's just come in recently, but what are some of the stakes or the steps being taken to improve the situation there? We have the national team, the Gazelles for the ladies, and the Silverbacks for men. Are we making any inroads in, for example, getting their a sponsor, you know, someone to rally to rally on the two national teams? So one, the CEO and the potential sponsor for the national teams. Then two, how did we? I know the issues you've explained, but the marker, you know, rating jerseys and all, like could that have been avoided? And then three, or finally. After medals are won, or if, you know, Gazelles qualify for AfroBasket or something, the congratulatory messages that come through, and also at national events, you know, State House dinner and all, most of you tend to fall into the same space and line of thought with government officials, as my friend Bernardo Goel is saying, oh, government is doing the best. Actually, we are better than we are making, you know, these steps. We are going the right direction, and then suddenly reality hits us. Like, how can you stand and say you literally have good political will towards sport and that you actually care for sport at all? Because for me, it's mainly been posturing when we have won. And I'll tell you, if sport really mattered, money for national teams would be got. Because we've seen it before. We've seen it happen before, where money is needed and they make it happen. Over to you.
I think the last question is addressed to a wrong person.
No, Nasser, it's addressed to the people who are watching.
Oh,
they know.
Okay.
So you could add, but at least they are listening.
I thought you wanted me to
and
answer.
watching.
You know, Andrew, I was fearing that you're going to ask Nasser that the other week he was meeting the Speaker of Parliament, Right Honorable Anitane Tamong. I thought you were going to ask him about whether they had a conversation about that.
In his feedback.
Let me start with
CEO.
the issue of the uniforms.
Yeah.
You know, the CEO later. I think you're jumping so fast to what happened in Angola, but at least you would start with applauding us for being the smartest team in the AfroBasket qualifiers. Why don't you comment about that? And
the Gazelles?
Yes.
That was last week. You missed the show?
Yes, we were the smartest team, and you should give us credit for
Maybe
that.
I need to repeat it here, but last week we really did. We gave flowers, we thanked our
colleagues. As Nasser goes on, and Andrew, you're probably answering your own questions. You're asking questions and you're giving a chance to answer. Is that I like something that our colleague Emanzi Ndiamuhachi wrote in the Monitor today. After his entire story, said the biggest victory for the Silverbacks was getting to Angola. That was for him the victory.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
He didn't think that the rest of it mattered.
That is absolutely true. Now, let me just comment about the issue of the uniform. We have the uniforms, and they are there. This is what happened. When we knew that we were supposed to travel, we made an order for those uniforms from our kit sponsor, Godfrey. And that kit arrived on Thursday via Ethiopian Airline at around 5:30. I received it at around 7. Now, because we were in that confusion and the mix-up, you're going, you're not going, so I sent a colleague of mine to go and pick the uniform. I told them pick, because we knew we were taking 9 players, so I told them pick 9 red and 9 white. So when they picked, they didn't check, because these uniforms were new and sealed. So instead of opening and checking to see which numbers they are picking, they just picked pieces and sizes, different sizes. So when the team was traveling, I was actually there, because the team set off from Lugogo at around 11 p.m. and I was there, and we handed over the uniforms without checking. Of course, that is not our style, but you see, when you're stressed, you're stressed, you're under pressure, and this, it skipped us, okay? We were supposed to check the numbers and all that, which didn't happen. So we gave them the uniforms, they were new, and upon arrival, ordinarily, if this whole trip was planned, even if that happened, if you reach there, we usually get there and then we print, we can print the numbers, then the names and all that. But the team arrived a few hours before the game, and there is no way, you know, you're going to get a printer and, you know, print the numbers and the names. Also, they didn't even have the money. That team left from Lugogo without even $100. Anyway, you can imagine.
A national team.
They can't buy a Chikomando in Rwanda.
So that is it. That is what happened. It was very embarrassing, and we apologize for that. But of course, it was a mix-up, you know, when you're under stress and all that. Going to the issue of the CEO. Yes, the CEO is new in office. He has plans, and one of the things that we want to do is for us to set up a fully fledged secretariat. There are key positions that we really want to have. We need to have a media manager, we want to have a marketing director, we want to have a finance person, we want to have up to 4 key positions that we need. But of course, you mentioned about the CEO, is he looking, you know, to getting a sponsor for the national teams? This one I have said a million times, and I will say again, a national team must be taken care of by the government. Okay, as a federation, we take care of so many other things, but these national teams must be taken care of the government. You people have a tendency of saying, but have you looked around for sponsors? Have you gotten corporate sponsors for the national team? You know, you don't even have a stadium where you can host these World Cup games for a sponsor to come and advertise and get mileage.
Yeah.
You know, these
and get their value for money.
They do not just throw money around.
True.
You have the Chigali Arena here, and you see if the likes of MTN, Airtel, or Nile Breweries, they will come and fight for that advertising space. But you're telling them, you know, we have Lugogo, it is a 1,000-seater, to come and do what? They need to get value for their money. You can't even host... You can't even...
No, Nasser reminds me of a story that Nasser and I have shared before. One of the companies that told one of the federations who are looking for money that they don't need visibility.
Oh.
This company said they don't need visibility because they have that already. You're not going to say
in the face.
Yeah, exactly. And this happened.
God.
But also, Andrew, maybe to help Nasser is that I don't think federations look for sponsorship publicly. Yeah, I don't think if Nasser came here and said we are actively looking for sponsors, that even makes sense. If he had to mention that I've sent out proposals and met 5 brand managers and 5 CEOs, I don't think that would make sense to the viewer. Because some of the things that are done in private and are seen in the light are things like sponsorship. Sponsorship is a bit like pregnancy. You cannot hide it. You know?
It will be seen anytime.
It can be seen when
it's a matter of time.
Ismail, Ismail, I appreciate the analogy and also that you bring that point. I also hear Nasser about the arenas, you know, and all. However, now that we have national teams that are regularly competing internationally, it does not hurt to have a sponsor rallying on them. Now, that does not mean government steps out. Government can still go ahead and perform their obligation towards the national teams, but it's in FUFA's best interests.
Andrew, let me cut you short. You want a sponsor to come and sponsor the Silverbacks. When we have played 4 windows of the World Cup qualifier, one we were in Angola, you go to Chigali, you go to Abidjan, you go back to Angola. Where is their target audience? Is it in Angola, Abidjan, Chigali, or where? The people they are targeting are here, but you can't even host a single game here. And you want them to give you money. How? So if I'm a CEO of a certain company, I can't give you even 1 million. For what?
Are we just deprived of
no, I hear you, Nasser.
Because of the lack of facilities, or
because of the lack of facilities?
We cannot host a game?
Primarily at that level you can, because I've seen some of the rules: 4 dressing rooms, 2 changing rooms for referees, a medical room. There must be space of about 3 to 5 meters from the court to the stand, and then there must be space behind the hoops. You look at the arena, there's nothing like.
You need to have a wooden floor. You need to have a minimum of 5,000 seater. There are so many requirements that you cannot host a game of that magnitude.
That's why for me my debate, and I've told many of the administrators here, when I see them get involved in these petty fights about money, about small money, I'm always thinking, our sports leaders, let's have a concerted debate and push about facilities, because everything else we say is rubbish. If you're not having a forum where you come to this show, or where you meet, for example, Nasser the other was meeting the Speaker of Parliament. If you're not telling her about facilities, Nasser, go home and sleep. Would rather have you in bed like all of us who are waiting for Uganda to have something without our input.
But the sports leaders keep meeting these guns in government.
As he answers, Clive Chaze, I know you've been very patiently waiting online. 2 questions, please.
Good evening. Happy to join you guys once again. And most of the questions have been asked to Nasser. I entirely agree with him that national teams should be taken care of by government. But while all that is going on, I would want him to expound more on a committee that has been around since the days of his predecessor, Ambrose Tashobia, the National Team Committee. I would love Nasser to remind us what the role of the National Team Committee is or was, if they still exist, and probably why we no longer see a lot of them being active, especially matters to do with the Silverbacks, because in the past they have been very active in making sure that things work with the Silverbacks, and I know even many of them have what it takes to make calls in big offices to have the national team, the Silverbacks, get what they would want to get to have activities of them happening at international level. So let him expound more on the national team committee, if it still exists, and what is its role, or initially what was their role?
They are very active. You may not be seeing them physically, but they are very active. And for a fact, I'll tell you, for example, on Wednesday, Grace Quizera, who is a member of that committee, spent the whole day camped at NCS, having been promised that we are going to get money. The whole day on Wednesday, the man was camped there, seated, waiting for money. On Thursday, I spent the whole day with Haji Mohamed Santur trying to figure out what we are going to do. So anyway, but their role, the committee is there. I can assure you that it is very active, and the role is basically to manage our national team, and management goes into so many things. I mean, Haji Santur is the liaison person between us and, you know, the coaches abroad there, trying to communicate with them, creating a plan, what do we need to do, how do we improve the team, and all that. For me, I think their role is not only, you know, to find sponsorship or look for money, but there are so many things that, you know, go into bringing all that you see on board, the coaches, the foreign-based players, I mean, convincing them to come and play for their country, Uganda, and all that, you know, trying to make sure that the team, you know, is being planned for what next, what do we need to do, and all that. So.
Yeah. Nasser, Clive, I do not like the fact that you stated that people on the national team committee can make calls to big offices. You almost sounded like Nasser can't. Yet I know Nasser.
You know why I said so, Isma? Because the most funded federation at the moment, we all know how they got the money they did. And I'm sure Nasser, together with the other people who run the sport of basketball, equally have the same ability to use the same backdoors to run the Silverbacks, so the Silverbacks get the money they need to perform at international level. So why aren't they exploiting those positions?
You know, you said backdoor and it sounded like iron sheets in my head. So somehow, maybe that's what. But perhaps Nasser, I think the overall thing is about the will, because not all of us will make decisions. Ismail is very passionate about sport, some of the things that happen in the four lines. I know my colleague Andrew is very passionate about the things to do with governance in sport. How then do we leverage our passions with the people who make the decisions?
It's very tough, Isma. It's very tough. For me, I think engagement is very key, and what we are doing right now is engagement. We may not come out in public to say we are doing this, you know, we made so and so, but I can assure you that we are doing all it takes to make sure that, you know, we get out of, you know, this whole fiasco of, you know, national teams, this and all that. We are doing the engagement, and I believe very soon we shall get there, but we are engaging the relevant authorities, the relevant people that, you know, will get us where we want to be.
Let me have one last one for Nasser.
Yes.
Nasser, where do you find discrepancies? Is it because NCS get or has a limited budget, or NCS does not give you what it should actually give you?
It is a two-way thing. One, they have a limited budget because, you see, there are certain things that people never get to know. I can tell you for a fact, we all know that, or we hear that the entire sports sector was given 47 billion, but that is not the fact. The truth of the matter is, when they went to finance told them, I don't know where you guys got your 47, but for us what we have here is about 25, I think, 25 or 27, around there.
10 of which is FUFAs.
You'll find
and even that 25 has not been released,
yes,
not even a
then
portion.
You find that out of that, they haven't even gotten a half of that, you know, so.
And the financial year is already into the third quarter.
Yes, exactly. So, you see, we may say NCS this, NCS that, but the question is, do they have the money from government, you know, to give to federations? But even the little that they get, now this is the second leg, even the little that they get, for me, I believe that sometimes there is some bit of, you know, extravagancy. Because if for example, if these teams are traveling, like, you know, athletics, or when they were in Birmingham and what, why do you travel with all these, you know, people, you know, the contingent that they travel with? You go, you get per diem, you know, you spend money on the ticket, accommodation, and all that. What business do you have there? Can that money, you see, if you save that money and give it to a certain federation, there are certain federations that, you know, when you give them $10,000 US, they are going to be very happy for a year. And they will, you know, meet their activity needs that they have. So I think sometimes we tend to spend money on irrelevant things instead of channeling the money where it's supposed to go. But also, we have to be realistic and very honest with ourselves. There is no single country in this world that is going to fund all the sports disciplines in a country. So we need to be honest with ourselves and say, okay, which disciplines do we have a niche that, you know, can sell this country and all that? Then focus on those ones. The countries that we admire. The other time we had a debate on a certain forum with the Ismails here, and saying that Rwanda, you know, it's, you know, Uganda has a better economy and GDP and all those things, but you see they can manage to fund their national teams and all that. But when you look around, you know, they don't fund each and every sport. They are going to go to basketball, football, cycling, baseball, and maybe volleyball, you see. But for us, we have 51 federations, and we want to take care of everyone and make everyone happy. It's not going to happen. You know, we need to be very honest.
We are slicing the cake and probably giving everyone crabs from it.
Danielle,
actually, the president, really, the issue of funding can cause a lot of debate, and sometimes we fail to come to a conclusion on what to do and what next, and very few changes sometimes happen. But, well, we'll keep on pushing. President, about the league, it's probable that it could start on the 10th of March. Is that date still standing? Also, I want you to tell us about the team which you're on, KU Titans. How prepared are they for the league?
The league will start definitely on 10th of March. The teams have started registration, I think, as of today. And the transfer process is also ongoing. And we believe that 10th March, we are ready to start. In about a few days, the fixtures will be out. And yeah, we are ready. We are ready for KU Titans. We are ready, of course. We have been training now. I think this is the 3rd week. We did our recruitment a bit early in preparation for this season, and we are ready to take on any team. Ready to remove the dictator.
I have a question as we conclude. You are standing again. And, you know, you started telling us that very sad story, sending an email at 5 p.m. saying you can't go, and then, you know, people are lending you tickets, you're begging for accommodation from foreign countries, you know.
Federation president.
So why would you even want to put yourself through all this stress that you've actually said is very stressful? You didn't even check T-shirts before you left. So why would you even want to stand again?
You know, I read about the same question on social media today. I think it was Twitter, and someone was asking that
you never comment.
you guys are always crying about money and all this, then you want to stand again. But you see, we are very passionate about this game. You see, we are into this game not to benefit, not to build CVs or what, but we love the game and we have the passion. So at the end of the day, you're like, okay, it's like having a child who is very stubborn, or having a child who, I don't know how to describe it. At the end of the day, this is your child. You're not going to throw them away and say, yeah, this child is maybe this, let me throw them away. So because of that love and the passion, we are like, okay, when I don't stand again and I leave, is it the solution to this game? The solution is beyond me as an individual.
It'll be less stressful for you.
even if another person came up, you know, tomorrow to lead this federation, these problems are beyond us, the individuals. And you always, you know, you have this thing in you that maybe I can change things. Maybe let me give it another try to see if things can change for the better. So that's what keeps us around.
And sometimes, you know, in this country, we always think that we are the ones who are going to make that change, but sometimes you can make a contribution, and someone else will come later, will do that change. We are the kind of people who want to plant our maize and have it the next day. And I'm really hoping Sserunjogi does not think the same way, that since he has planted his seeds, it's a time trip. Sometimes I look at you guys within sports administrations, maybe for the few who are weightier than they were when they joined. But for most of them, I see the stress, and it's a valid question. When that election comes, and you know, I've seen some, I think from the executive that it's supposed to be, some people are unopposed, who are standing this election, but he, the president, has an election to face.
Competition,
he has someone in the election. I know there's also a vote involving, I think, one of the commissioners.
Commissioner women and the president. And the other positions are unopposed.
The others are unopposed. So I didn't know the president is this unpopular. That his ex-com are returning unopposed, and one person comes out and is standing. So it's going to be quite interesting when it comes. I think it should be what, next?
On 11th, the other weekend.
11th
Maybe
of March.
briefly, what will be your focus once elected, just in case you come back to office?
I think when I came into office in 2019, I had a couple of things that I wanted to work on, but unfortunately we were affected by COVID for almost 2 years, and quite a number of things that we haven't, you know, fulfilled to the level that we wanted. But it's just a continuation of what, you know, we started with. We wanted to have a vibrant league. I mean, we have managed to achieve that. We wanted to do capacity building for our coaches and referees, because we believe that for this game to grow, you need to work on your coaches, you need to work on your referees. We had quite a number of clinics in those areas, but we still want to continue doing that. But the biggest pillar that, you know, we wanted to build was about grassroots basketball. But because of the COVID, we didn't have enough time to engage the schools and start this program. We had a few tournaments in primary schools that were never there before. But we had, I think last year we had like two or three tournaments in primary schools. But we want to create a league at that level in primary schools, because we believe that there are so many schools that would want to, you know, engage in basketball. But if you don't have a championship to fight for, if I'm a proprietor of a certain school, how would you convince me to, you know, put up a basketball court and all that, yet there's nothing to play for? So we want to create a league. When we had those tournaments, surprisingly, so many schools were interested in joining, and it gave us a clear picture that, okay, if you put up something, so many people want to be a part of it. So we want to continue with that program and, you know, build from down going upwards.
Okay, thank you very much, Mr. President. We've got to leave it there and move on